Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reading a select few of books. Ever since, honestly, I think the last book that I read that I really absolutely loved, I can't remember, but I'll put it up here just because, y'all, I have been struggling to find a book just to read in general that is kind of like calling to me, because I very much like to read books that I'm in the mood for, not so much like to match the vibe of the season or whatever. I want to read something that like calls to me. And y'all, I was having banger after banger like a couple of months ago. Like the number one book that really like sticks out to me that I read is Annie Bot. If y'all have not read Annie Bot, read it. I feel like for all the girly pops out there who have been in emotionally abusive relationships or just question themselves in a relationship and lost themselves in a relationship, that is a really good book. Like, y'all, I read it and I was like, Annie girl, Annie. That we're getting off topic, but we're gonna get a little bit personal in this video, so please bear with me because I have issues with opening up, and here I am doing it to who knows will see this video. But I have to say that recently, I've been reading books and not finishing them, which is crazy because like I said, I was having banger after banger, and I feel like I read enough to kind of be able to pick up a book and know that I'm going to like it. And this doesn't mean that the books that I've picked up and haven't finished aren't good books. I just think the mindset that I'm in right now, I'm just struggling to kind of connect with reading like how I had before. And this is all due to me going through something that is just very human and a lot of people will go through, and I know this isn't the last time I will go through one of these. Is a breakup. Yes, I hate to say that your girl is down bad to the point where she is struggling to pick up books that she wants to read. So I've been looking on my shelves, I've been looking at books that are at my library to kind of see what is there, what will scratch this itch, and y'all, I have been struggling to find something. So I decided, and I know we're not supposed to use AI, but I decided to ask AI. I give it a prompt, told it my situation, and it gave me some book recommendations. I didn't pick up all of the books, just the ones that I thought were interesting to me, and I decided that I can make a video of this and y'all could join me and let me know if there are book suggestions to scratch the itch that I am trying to have scratched. And I thought to myself that maybe I shouldn't be trying to read books that I'll read and then be like, wow, why do I relate to these characters so much? Why am I literally going through this? Like the feeling I felt when I read Annie Bot, like that is the feeling I'm trying to chase. And I was like, maybe I am throwing myself in the wrong direction. Maybe I just need to get some escapism. But y'all, I can't even focus on these books. Like I just finished reading Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and I felt like I couldn't really immerse myself in that story. And I know like any other time I would have read that book and absolutely been like immersed in it, because the premise is a great premise and it's a good book. But I just feel like I wasn't fully able to appreciate it, and I felt that way about like the last several books that I've read. So in this video, I think I'm gonna try to read maybe like 2 or 3 books. I have 2 books that I checked out from my library with me right now that I'm probably gonna start reading in a little bit here, and I'll keep you guys updated on what I think about it and give you my overall thoughts and opinions on it. I also do really want to read diversely. I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that, or I've been like building up to reading like diverse books and not just books that, you know, are well known and talked about and circulate the online book spaces so often. So if y'all have any suggestions, please let me know. So anyways, I went to the library today and I was kind of struggling to find a book, and the struggle has really been real. Like I know I keep saying that, but it's just been so hard to find something to read. But the 2 books that I ended up leaving the library with, I feel like a little bit hopeful, and I know I said I wanted like diverse recommendations, so y'all are gonna see these 2 books and be like, girl, who you lying to? Not okay, I can't say for sure that these are gonna hit, but I know that they have for like multiple people, so I feel like they're a little bit of a safe pick. So we have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, and Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. Okay, this one was recommended to me by AI, and then this one it's been on my radar I think since it came out last year, and I had no idea my library had it. but I am really interested in this one. The premise of this, from what I remember, is our female main character and our male main character are both very driven in the music world, and I think they're both in college. One writes music and then I think one composes the music. What I remember, it's our female main character kind of goes through this thing where she meets the male main character and he understands her, doesn't find her annoying when she goes on her tangents about music, because she goes on really long-winded ones. From what I read, like the first 2-3 pages, so we have that interaction already. And I think from the premise, what it told me is that our female main character kind of loses herself in this relationship because she's never had the man, like anybody pay attention to her or show interest in her, and usually they're just like bored and like tired and like, okay, when is she going to be done speaking kind of vibe. So she kind of loses herself and she gets validation from the male main character and all of this, and because of this she becomes to rely on him like maybe a little bit too much, which I know we can all relate to some extent, which is why I kind of picked this book, because I was like, oh my god, me, but without the music, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, me. And so she loses herself in the relationship and she has to come to this question of, is she actually good in the music world? Does she actually know what she's talking about? Do people actually care? Like, is it worth like sharing her interests and all of this stuff even without his validation, is what I gathered from the premise of like the first 2 to 3 pages that I read. So we'll see. I am pretty excited about this one. Like I said, it is very music heavy. So when I was reading the first couple pages, I was kind of like, okay, I don't get any of these references at all. So if you're into music, you'll probably like this one, but I didn't get any of the names of the artists or the songs that they were talking about, and I was just like, okay. Music snobs though, I feel like y'all will appreciate this. Okay, and then the second book is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I feel like this is my first Sally Rooney book, y'all. I did own Normal People, but the quotation marks really irked me, and I feel like, okay, I just need to get over that. Like, it's a stylistic choice, and is that something that I want to let deter me from what could be like a new door open for me? Like, I could really like it and really like Sally Rooney. Like, Sally Rooney is very well known, very well circulated in all book spaces. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to stop being so annoying and just give it a go, because honestly, is quotation marks gonna change the story? No, the story will still be there, just the quotation marks won't. So I feel like it's a stylistic choice that I just need to get over, and we are. From what I understand in this book, I think we follow I haven't read anything of this book yet, but the premise said is we follow four people, 2 couples, and it kind of just goes over like, are they able to find the beauty in life, but these couples like keep breaking up and getting back together. So it seems like it's very something like human and just something we go through. Why this was recommended to me by AI, I don't know. I don't remember. I can't remember exactly what it said, but I'm hoping that I do really like this one. I don't know too much about this book other than that. I would say the Sally Rooney book that I've heard the most of is Normal People, but I'm pretty sure all of Sally Rooney's books are like well liked. I'm sorry I can't give y'all like a more in-depth detail of what this book is about. I literally just know that it's 2 couples and like their ups and downs, and if like despite those ups and downs, can they still find the beauty within the world? So we'll see. I don't know which book I want to read first though. And I feel like the third option, which honestly it takes me like a week or 2 between work and school, it's gonna take me like a week or 2 to finish one book, so y'all bear with me. It's probably gonna be like a month for me to read 3 books, so which is why it's like a challenge. But I think my third book is gonna be a Marlee McFarlane book. I forget the name of it, but I bought it on my Kindle because it was like 99 cents. And I unfortunately, I fell victim. I try not to buy from Amazon, y'all. I bought my Kindle like several years ago and I use it solely for Libby. But my library doesn't really have many Marlee McFarlane books, let alone online ones. I'll put the picture here of the book. I want to read that one. I bought it like a couple months ago, so we'll see. I'll also scan my shelf because I really want to get through my physical TBR before I start buying more books. So I'll scan my shelf and see, but I really want, like, the best way to say it is I really want like an Emily Henry romance, but like I want to feel wrenched. Like I want my gut to be like wrenched by the end of the story, and I want to be like, wow, why is this literally me in a different format, in a different form, in a character I will never know, from this author who I've never met. But that's what I'm going for. So we'll see. I'm gonna decide which book I'm gonna read. I don't know. We'll see, y'all. Okay, so I'm about 47 pages into Deep Cuts. The chapters aren't numbered, but I needed to update. Okay, so I'm not too far in it, but really for me to be able to talk about these books, I am going to have to spoil it. But since it's only 50 pages in, I feel like it's not like too much of a spoiler. But so far, I have to say I was a little hesitant to continue reading this just because of how music heavy it is. And I'm not too into music, especially the music that they're talking about in this book. But I feel like you don't really need to know that from where the book is kind of pivoting, and I'm really not that far into it. I do have to say that the part that kind of threw me off was that Joey has a girlfriend, and Joey is the male main character and our female main character is Percy. They are in college. I don't know what time this takes place in, but he does have a girlfriend, and that was another reason why I was about to put this book down, because one thing about me is I can't do cheating in any sense. I just can't do it. I can't even do it in like any form of media. So I was getting a little irked because obviously like Percy would go to Joey's apartment and they were working on his song all the way up until the next day when the sun came up, and he like put his hand on her thigh, but I think it was more like a little tap kinda, and he moved his hand, but like he still kept it because she was sitting in the passenger seat, he still kept it like next to her thigh. And it's like little things like that, and I know I'm very insecure when it comes to my relationships, so that could also kind of be where this is coming from. But yeah, that kind of like felt a little weird to me, but I was still interested to kind of see like, okay, well, how are they gonna play this girlfriend into this bigger love story of Percy and Joey? And so what I learned is the girlfriend's name is Zoe. So Zoe and Joey have been dating, I think, since high school or since Joey's mother died, which I don't know exactly when it was, but they are childhood sweethearts. High school sweethearts, something along that line. And they've been dating for a while, and Percy went to go visit Joey and Zoe. I hate that their names are so similar, but she went to go visit Zoe's hometown, I think over the holidays or over the weekend or something, a little bit after Thanksgiving, because we just got a little Thanksgiving chapter. And they go to an open mic night, and Zoe basically, like, this part made me go, how is this gonna go? And so he was like, you can have him, to Percy. And Percy was also like dumbfounded, because like, what are you talking about? Like, you've literally been with him. And in a previous chapter, Joey was kind of like, I can't see myself like not living with her. Zoe is gay, more specifically, and I don't know if this is an offensive term, but she said that she's a dyke. So if that is an offensive term, I'm sorry that I said that, but it's the term that was that she used to describe herself. And that also kind of threw Percy for a loop. And so basically Zoe has just come to this realization that she doesn't like guys. She has told Joey that she's bisexual, but I guess not. I think maybe she's like lesbian, because she said that his no-no square makes her grossed out, and I don't know if it's specifically him or just all males with the no-no square, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but yeah. And so it seems that Zoe's just kind of waiting for Joey to be ready for Zoe to leave, because their lives are just so intertwined. But yeah, I think that's really all that's like keeping them together, is how intertwined, because Joey doesn't like to go back to stay with his father, because his father's an alcoholic ever since his mother died. So that is kind of where we're at, and I just had to share that because I did not see that coming. Like, out of every possibility, that was not one that I saw coming. So I'm going to continue reading. I'm gonna try to read up to 100 pages tonight. I don't know when I will update y'all, but I had to update on that because I feel like that is something I'm gonna forget as I continue reading. Okay, wait, there was one more thing I wanted to share, was this last little paragraph of this chapter, and it's the chapter where she where she learns that Zoe is bisexual to some degree, and she basically gets like really excited because she's like, I could have this. Like, she really likes Joey, like that much is very clear. And Zoe did also say that Percy has been very good to Joey, and she kind of thanks her for that. So it seems like there is some reciprocation there to some extent. We don't get Joey's perspective at all, so I can't really like say for sure. But Percy is smitten, and honestly she has been, I think, since they had worked through the night to work on his song. But so she's at Zoe's house, and she basically just said, she's staring at herself in the mirror. I wasn't completely oblivious, like that girl you see in movies who inexplicably perceives herself to be a bridge-dwelling troll when actually she's Molly Ringwald. I knew I was neither, and probably closer to Molly than the troll, but I had factors working against me when it came to guys. I was obnoxious, I was inexperienced, I didn't play the game, and I never zeroed in on any one style, as Zoe had done so well in the years since this photograph, which made me feel recessive in the context of my peers, a vague smear of a girl. But maybe Joey saw me clearly, the way some people can look at an abstract painting and instantly discern the figure. Maybe it was actually going to happen for me. I shuddered with happiness and a splitting headache. So the headache, I think, is because she was a little tipsy from the night before. But yes, and we kind of learned in a previous chapter as well, we kind of learned that she is experienced when it comes to guys and being with guys. She had her first kiss and lost her virginity to her coworker at this music store called Amoeba, which she worked at, I think, as a freshman in college, and then she only works there like when he's not there because they are no longer together. But so we learned that she's only been with one other person that we know of. So I just want to share that as well, because I feel like that will really tie into her losing herself in the relationship. Not that that's like always the case for women or girls who are kind of just getting into dating, but I feel like that can be a factor more times than not. And I feel like that's a factor that maybe I relate to as well, is when you're first dating, you know, she's not too young, she's in college, but when you don't know too much about relationships, you don't really have like that guidance from outside sources, like whether it's a friend or like your mom or something, you can definitely get lost in the sauce of being infatuated with a guy, which I think is what we're getting so far. But I feel like we kind of also knew that just from the premise. This will probably be my last update because I do not need to be updating y'all like every fucking 20 pages. I am now I'm on page 76, so really like 30 pages later. I fear everybody is going to be pissing me off in this book. But I don't understand. Like, I literally don't understand what just happened. So Zoe and Joey broke up. Zoe does not want to be around Joey because then she's like, well, then what was the point of breaking up? He's going to become too attached again. And Percy hasn't heard from Joey. She goes to his first show and they don't talk at the show, so she goes home because she's already been waiting like 5-15 minutes, whatever. And he ends up going to her apartment after the show and he like hugs her, and so she makes a move on him and he's like, I don't want to ruin what we have, like I need your criticism, like we're having too much fun for this to be over. And she's like, so you mean never? Like, never say never, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, never. And so he just shot her down. And she's obviously like upset about it. And then she goes to meet Zoe at a cafe, and Zoe's like, tell me what happened, tell me again. And then they end up fighting because Zoe was like, he's begging for your criticism, but his ego can't handle you in bed, which I understand that. But then she said that this is typical Joey. He's so manipulative. Like, I'm glad he's not in my life anymore. Like, he's a bitch. And then Percy said, don't call him that. And then it said, Percy doubled down and said, don't call her that. Don't call who that? And then there's like a little paragraph where it was like, she made her decision. Like, she didn't mean to defend Joey, but at least the path that she's choosing, Joey's on it. And then Zoe leaves and she's like, fuck you, Percy. What just happened? Were we not all just like sucking each other's toes? Like, huh? I'm gonna try and read like 30 more pages, but I don't think I'm gonna update until I at least get like halfway again, or unless some bonkers shit happens, which with the way these characters are like getting on my nerves a little bit, it may be sooner than that. Hey y'all, so I think it's like a couple days later, and I'm pretty sure I'm about 50% of the way through. I'm on page 153. So we've had a bit of development. She's in New York now pursuing her master's, I believe. And Joe is touring with the band. He's doing great. Opening for tours, actually, I think. And then I think he gets like his own little, I don't know, he ends up in England somehow. Who fucking knows with this guy? This guy's pissing me off. Okay, we're gonna get to that. Percy ends up dating one of the guys, Raj, in her writing seminar, I think. Something met him in the workshop that she's been doing for school. And she doesn't date him like when we were first introduced to him. It takes like a couple of chapters and then they do end up together, and they end up like intertwining their lives, and she stays like with him for basically the whole summer and so on, right? They're great, but you can tell that she's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like maybe not all of us, but I feel like there is some sense of just being with someone because they're there and it's convenient and it works, right? And then she gets invited to go to a wedding where Joe is playing because the couple getting married loves his band, so he goes. And she goes as well. She tells her boyfriend, and obviously the boyfriend is kind of like avoidant about it because we know what's happening. Like, I could smell it from a mile away what was gonna happen, and that happened. And I was very frustrated because I know we're supposed to be frustrated because it's like we're reading it from the outside, but honestly, if we were Percy, and by we, okay, I can only speak for myself, so if I was Percy, and I like to think that my morals are really high. Like I said, I'm just not one for cheating. So I'm very disappointed that it was Percy that cheated, y'all. I really was. And like, just skipped the emotional and went straight home run. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was very disappointed, but it was, you saw it coming from a mile away. And then they're doing great. And Joe's just like, yes. Like, I'm ready now, like all randomly, right? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, she hasn't been ready and made it known for years. And then these girls at the wedding, and Percy's like, well, who are these girls? And he's like, yeah, I hooked up with one of them, like, whatever. And she's like, well, how many girls have you been hooking up with? And he's like, you know, like more than 10, like whatever. And in this time span, I don't know how many years it's been, but that's pretty fucking crazy, right? And I don't know, it just frustrated me so much. And like a line that Percy said that like, I think, her inner monologue was like perfect. She was just saying how like Joe sees her as like, she's just gonna sit there and wait and not be with anyone and like have these terrible experiences with guys. And he gets to go off and like do whatever. And she was like, well, like, I don't know, like their practice or whatever. And he was like, oh, don't flatter. Like, he's just being a dick. And now I'm thinking, like, Percy girl, why do we still like him? Like, he's obviously not the same Joe from undergrad. Like, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm getting like a little bit frustrated because I'm like, girl, like, you had a good thing. Even if it wasn't what she necessarily wanted, like, she probably could have. And then that also raises the question of like, would marrying someone like Raj be wrong? You know, like, you could marry someone and be content and be fine and be be whatever, but is it wrong to do that to that person knowing that you have a Joe in your life? You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. I'm getting like this, it's getting toxic, but it's making me mad. So I think this may be working. I don't think my gut is gonna be wrenched by the end, but I think I am gonna be frustrated, probably like have a bald spot or two. So that's my update for now. Honestly, I'm gonna try to finish this in like the next 2 to 3 days. I'm about 50% of the way. I might be able to slash through a lot of it today. If not today, I'm definitely gonna try to finish it in like the next couple days. So hopefully my next update is by the time I finish reading. Excuse my appearance. It's literally, I think, like 10 o'clock at night. I did finish this book. And I know I said I was gonna finish it within like the next couple of days. It's the same day from the last clip, y'all. I did indeed read all of it, which is crazy because I also had time for a nap, but I'm getting off topic. So, you know, the rational thing to do would be to go to sleep and think on this, but y'all, this book made me so mad for several reasons, but mainly a lot of just like, what? The first couple chapters, right? Okay, I had like this ignorant bliss or like this, I had hope, okay, and I was wrong to hope, that think that this would be in some way a satisfying love story. These characters are insufferable. Percy, insufferable. Like, I understand that the whole point of this story is to say that, like, you know, they always came back to each other and in the end they were able to find something that worked for both of them. But honestly, I was just so mad. Like, this book is not long. It's like almost 300 pages, a little less than 300 pages, and it goes over the span of 8 years. So from when they're in college, which is I think like 2000s maybe to 2008, I think is when it finishes, somewhere around there. So this is 8 years of Percy and Joe. And they literally probably only spend like 2 or 3 chapters with each other, and the rest is just Percy like figuring out herself, pining for Joe, and them just like getting back at each other in like really petty, immature ways. And Zoe said it perfectly in one of the chapters. She basically just said like, I'm glad, like, because Percy had worked with Skinner, which is this guy that used to be in the band with Joey that Joey really hates, and Joey was like, no, like never work with him or give him any advice or anything, right? And so Percy does that like a couple years after, I think it was like 4 or 5 years after like she had that conversation with Joey. And when that had happened, Joey just like stopped communicating her like all completely, which was the first time when this had happened over this time span of however long the relationship had been at that point, because they would meet up, fight, not speak to each other, and Percy would pine for him, and then somehow that silence would be broken and it was like nothing ever happened, which I think I'm mad because like it does happen. Like, this is real, like literally, like this is just, I've been in relationships where it was like we didn't speak for several days, which is different than like 3 to 4 years, which is literally how long they went without talking at some stretches, was years, which is so crazy to me. I'm like, years. Like, I'm not saying that you're gonna be a different person like 2 to 3 years from now, but I feel like you should be different in some aspects. I don't know, that just really like boggled my mind. I did not like that. And then met up again at this bar that Joe worked at, and she was like, I want to be together, but like no songs. And he was like, nah, fucking left. What? Like, how are you gonna Like, how are y'all gonna have this 7-8 year long fucking situationship or whatever and be so in love with each other, and then you have the opportunity and you're like, no. But we also knew this about him because he said no the first time in 2001, and then the book ends and they just decide like, yeah, let's do this, but we can be together. Move to Montana to this 2-bedroom house with a studio, and sorry, my AC's turning on, and still work on our songs together. But who won in this situation? Joey. Like, they didn't even try it Percy's way of just them being a couple and not working on the songs, just how she wanted to do it. They didn't even get to do that. Like, this book is literally just Joey getting his cake and eating it. And like, the thing is, you can't even be mad at Percy because it's like, bro, we've all had that person in our lives where it was like we were willing to sacrifice something without even trying it our way first. So it's like, you can't even be mad at Percy, but it's like, as an outsider looking in, I am mad. I don't recommend this book. No. I think I'm gonna give it like 3 stars. It honestly was not amazing. I'm not gonna recommend this. Don't read this. This did not scratch the itch I was looking for. If anything, it just made me mad. And it did make me reflect a little bit on myself and the men I've had in my life. So, and maybe the men I will have going forward in my life. So, I hope to never be a Percy. And if you're in your Percy era, or if you relate to her and you're okay with it, I love that for you. But I'm mad, and I'm gonna reserve my right to be mad. So I'm done. I'm done reading for today. I do have classes have already started, so I don't know how quickly. I think tomorrow I'm gonna go to the library and read Hello Beautiful World, whatever the name of that Sally Rooney book is. Y'all, I'm frustrated right now. Like, I'm heated. 3 stars. We'll give it 3 stars. I know it looks like I haven't moved or it's the same day. I just wear the same 3 pajamas in rotation, and when I'm home, I'm in pajamas. So yeah. Anyways, I wanted to update y'all. I'm about 100 pages into Beautiful World, Where Are You? I think in one of the little clips I said, hello beautiful world, or something like that. It's Beautiful World, Where Are You? But I did want to share some thoughts. This book, I think, is about like a little under 400 pages, so it's a little bit longer than Deep Cuts. I was reading this, and as I'm still reading it, I don't think this is going to be the book that I'm looking for, like post-breakup wise, to kind of like tug at my heartstrings and such. I'm still kind of like interested in where it's going, like the storyline and premise of it all, but I don't think it's gonna be like anything groundbreaking or like profound. And I say that mainly because when I was reading the first couple chapters, I wanted to not read it anymore. I just wasn't really interested in the way the book starts off. Is very confusing. Sally Rooney doesn't introduce any of the main characters until like a couple pages in. She will just say the woman, but she won't say anything. So that really confused me because I'm like, okay, like who are we talking about? And then we would get introduced to another female character, and I'm like, okay, like even more confused. Like, are we talking about the previous character? Like, why are we not saying her name? I probably am just gonna finish this book just to kind of see like where it goes. I feel like maybe there will be some revelation about like sisterhood, like friendship, just finding out what it means to be like dating as you get older. I think that kind of thing is what we're gonna get. I don't think it's gonna hit what I needed to hit, but that's fine. I didn't really do too much research when I picked up these books. I probably could have done better research, but it's fine. So 100 pages in, we are currently following 2 women. I forget how old they are. I think they're like nearing their 30s. I really don't know. Like, I really don't know what any of these characters look like anyways. Like, there's no description of that or of the male counterparts, but we follow Alice. She is an author. She lives, oh my gosh, she lives by the beach. I know that much. I think, okay, both of our main characters, Alice and Eileen, the two women, they're from Dublin, okay? They're from Ireland. They met at college. But basically that's all that we know about Alice. We also know that she's very eccentric. She's different. Like, I don't really know how to explain her personality, but I guess maybe like kind of off-putting. She doesn't really care how she comes off to other people. She just is who she is. And we also learned that she lived in New York. She came back from New York and then spent, I think, like a couple months in a mental institution, I believe, because she had a panic attack. But when she was sharing what happened, she wasn't really able to say why she was having this panic attack. She just said that she didn't know why, like literally. So we don't know too much about her. And then she is with, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. He's also not a very remarkable character. Neither Alice, I would say. She's interesting in a way that you're kind of like, well, what happened? And I do like her personality just because it's different. I feel like you don't really read about like female main characters in romance setting books where they're off-putting and like straightforward. I don't know, you just have to read her character. I feel like if I were to meet Alice, I would also feel very like, I don't want to talk to her, I don't like the vibes. But it's really refreshing to see like a new personality entering in, just from all of the books that I've read. I'm not saying this is like groundbreaking, like Sally Rooney's the first to do it. I'm just saying this is the first book that I've read where I've seen this. But she meets this guy on Tinder. They go on a date and it doesn't go well, but they are still seeing each other, but not seeing each other. I think they're friends right now. We learned that they're both bisexual, so that's something that we just learned. And they're in Rome together, despite only having met like 3 times. So I'm a little confused on like if this is a romantic thing or if they're just gonna have like a soulmate relationship in the form of friendship, you know? And then we have Eileen, who still lives in Dublin, I think. Wow, what is Eileen doing with her life? I don't remember what she does, but she is in love with Simon, who is 5 years older than her. She's known him since she was 15. I guess they're a group of 3, Alice, Eileen, and Simon, but obviously Eileen and Simon are a little bit closer. They slept together, I think, like a couple years prior, and they're just friends now. I don't really know. It's really confusing because they had a phone call and it was a very like dirty phone call and he got off to it, but they're still like friends. Like, I don't know, it's very weird. They did sleep together and stuff like that. So, and Eileen is very much into Simon, but I think Simon is just kind of like likes that she's there, is the vibes that I'm kind of getting. But I feel like the story is reading really stale. I don't know how I feel about this, so I'm probably gonna finish it just because there's still that little peak of interest of, is this gonna get better? Is there like some revelation waiting for me that is gonna be like mind-boggling? Probably not, but I am intrigued just because it's Sally Rooney and like I want to be included in the conversation. But yeah, and then we also have Alice and Eileen, who are sending emails to each other, and I have to say that as much as I relate to these women and like what they're talking about in their emails, like I relate to it. And I was reading it and I was like, wow, like this literally sounds like me. But like also in the way that it's kind of set up in the book, it's boring. Like I find myself like reading but not reading. Like, you know, when you're reading but you're like, what did I just read? I find myself spacing out a lot during their emails. But they do ask each other questions of like, when can we meet up, or questions of just updating each other on their lives and such. So there's really not much going on, y'all. Like, that's literally all we have. I probably will not update y'all until like, honestly, until I finish it. I am gonna try to finish it, hopefully, in the next couple of days. I feel like I started it today and I'm 100 pages in. So I feel like if I keep at this pace and it's 400 pages, I can finish it in the next couple of days. I'm gonna continue reading and I will update y'all when something happens or if I just finish it. So we'll see. I have good news and bad news. I finished the book. Good news, okay? Kinda. Bad news. I didn't read the last 100 pages. Okay, and I know I said that I was gonna try to read it just because I was a little bit... No, I was reading at the library today after I was finishing some homework, and I just did not care. And I was quite literally falling asleep while reading this book. I did not like the book at all. I did not like any of the characters. The little inkling of an interest I had in Simon and Eileen, gone. Nothing. By like that 70% mark, whatever, like I literally was 100 pages, like I think on the dot. I stopped reading at 2:55 and I think the book finished at like 2:52. I just did not care what happened to anybody, so I decided it was best to just stop reading. And I tried not to look at the reviews until afterwards, just so it doesn't influence my opinion or influence me while I'm currently reading the book. It just did not get better. I did read the last 2 chapters just because I was like, okay, let me see if something crazy happens in these last 100 pages where it'll be worth it to see that development. It was not. I am gonna spoil this book because I just can't think of like who would like this book. There were people who did rate it 5 stars, so I know that this book definitely has to be for someone, but just the way Felix treated Alice and Alice like falling in love with him after only knowing him for a couple of weeks really set me off. And Felix was quite honestly a jerk. When that one chapter happened where he came over to her house after being blasted and ditching her to go to the club, that was it for me for their story. And then when I was reading a little bit more about Simon and Eileen, when Simon, okay, this might be a little bit of a spoiler. I don't think so though, because it's quite obvious they're gonna end, both of the couples end up together in the end. But when Simon was kind of like, you know, told Eileen, you're always the one who doesn't want to make things official, and I'm just doing that because that's what you want. And Eileen was like, let's just not sleep together, or let's not do anything, like point blank period. And it's so obvious that that's not what she wants, but for some reason that's what she said. So maybe if you're one of those girlies or you've been in a relationship like that, you might relate to that. But me personally, that just like irked me, because I'm like, why would you not want to be with someone that you want to be with? You know what I'm saying? I know sometimes people do have those issues and like avoidance, you know, but I'm an anxious avoidant, but I would never be like no to a guy I'm actively like have been in love with. Mind you, they've been in love with each other since she was 15 and he was 20, which is a whole nother thing, but we'll ignore that because the story takes place when she's like 30 and I think he's 35. But I did read the last couple of chapters and I was very disappointed to find out that Alice and Felix did get together, so I'm glad I didn't waste my time trying to trudge through the last 100 pages. And then Simon and Eileen do end up together, which I guess I'm happy with, but I just don't know why they have to have like the 3rd act breakup, like literally in the 3rd act. It just was not for me. It just was not for me. But if you like Sally Rooney, and I imagine you like these kind of, I'm sure this is introspective to some people who can relate to these characters, but I just couldn't, so no. You might like it, but I didn't like it for those reasons. With that being said, I know I said I might read a third book in this video, but I think I'm just not going to because this video is already quite long, and I have to blame myself because I was doing check-ins and just talking about the book, not so much talking about my opinion on the book, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to do better unless y'all like this kind of book or this kind of style of video. But I did want to share with y'all because I think I am gonna start filming my next video right after I finish this video. Y'all, I felt like this, I was on hold for the physical copy of this book, and it was ready for me to pick up like 2 days ago, but I was busy and I wasn't able to pick it up until today. And I was like, I feel like I can't remember what this book is about, but I know it's gut-wrenching. And I was like, oh, this would have been so perfect. I feel like this would have been a better pick than Beautiful World, Where Are You? Because Deep Cuts wasn't too bad. Like, at least I was able to get through that book and finish it. I gave 3 stars. And y'all might like kind of shit on me for this, but I gave Beautiful World, Where Are You 2 stars despite not finishing the last 100 pages. But whatever happened in those 100 pages is not relevant because you could predict the ending. Like, I don't know, that might be no popular opinion, but I'm gonna say that I read the book because I could tell you what happens basically. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, or you, make sure to like and subscribe first of all. I'm trying to be more active on here. And also, if you've read these books, please let me know y'all's opinions. Like, even if you guys disagree with my opinion, like, I would love to hear what you liked about that book, because in my readings of them, or I'm thinking about all these things that I didn't like, I might have missed something and I might agree with you. Or if you have any suggestions about books to read, y'all, I am still looking for something. I'm continually on the hunt for a new book. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.